all set, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Town of West Warwick Planning Board meeting, April 5th, 2021. Al, can you do just do a roll call of the planning board?
I can do the roll call, Joe, if you want.
All right, Mark, go ahead, please.
Mr. DiMartino,
Here.
Mr. Apollonia,
Here.
Mr. Gardozic.
Here.
Mr. Petracca emailed and said he wouldn't be able to make it. Mr. Barrett. Ms. Ruberry. Emailed and said he wouldn't be able to make it. Mr. Barrett. Ms. Ruberry.
Here.
We have a big echo here, I guess, on Josh. Okay.
Mr. Garcia.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Item 1, approval of the minutes from the review and approval of the December 7th, 2020 meeting minutes. We've all gotten copies of them. Are there any questions or comments?
No comments.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from the December 7th meeting.
Motion is moved.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Item 2, public hearing, major subdivision. Applicant, Arpin Associates LLC. Location 99 James P. Murphy Highway. Assessors Plat 12, Assessors Lot 331. Zoning District Business Park, BP. Land area 10.68 acres. Number of lots 2. Ocean State Planners, Inc. is the engineer. And it's a request for master plan approval to subdivide a single 10.6 acre parcel into two lots. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, it's Marco Uriati, attorney for the applicant owner, Arpin Associates LLC. Virtually here with me is Peter Arpin, executive vice president, majority shareholder, major shareholder of Arpin Group. He's the officer most familiar with the building, land, and management of the property. And I believe Lori Pearson, Motion State Planners, our surveyor, is also participating.
Okay, I don't see Laura. I don't see you, Marco. I don't know if you're all just a black screen.
Here, video. Well, it was visible earlier, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Joe, why don't
Marco,
we?
do you have a lens cover on your camera or anything? Because that's what it appears like.
Yeah,
no, it appears to be on.
Okay,
all
we're
right.
all seeing a black screen for you.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just take your word that it's really you, okay?
Joe, why don't we swear in Peter and the other witness at the same time?
Okay.
Marco, who's your second witness?
Lori Pearson of Ocean State Planners was to be in attendance.
We don't see her.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, yes, Mark.
I checked the attendance list and it appears that Richard Bizdera is in attendance. He is the principal from Ocean State Planners.
Okay. So he's not, but he's not here on this part of the.
He's in the public audience, Joe.
Okay.
Peter and Richard, would you raise your right hands?
Let me
Swear
hold
tell-
on. Al, let me bring Richard in.
Okay.
And Richard should be able to turn his camera on and unmute himself to participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter and Richard, would you raise your right hands? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. All right, Marco.
Yeah, so thank you. We're here on behalf of the applicant seeking approval of the proposed master subdivision, again, to subdivide a single 10.6 acre parcel with an existing building to create two lots with a building on each lot. The application is classified as a major subdivision as the resulting development requires dimensional variances to be issued by the zoning board of review. For the record, the materials submitted with the application, I'd like to move those into the record. We have the master subdivision application, Arpin's master site plan prepared by OSP, Ocean State Planners, Ocean State Planner's narrative report, the Technical Review Committee memo, the TRC responses, and then the Planning Board meeting notice advertised and mailed in accordance with the ordinance, the 200-foot radius map, abutters list, and the business park abutters list map. There are no objections. I move those into the record, please.
Okay. There are no objections. Please move them into the record.
So we began the process, I would say a month and a half, 2 months ago, and reviewing, had some very good conversations with Mark Carullo. So we had insight into what would be required in order to gain the approval for the master subdivision. It is essentially an existing conditions application. There are really no improvements, no alteration of drainage, no proposed changes other than dividing the lot, and of course the planning office's recommended stipulations. The variances to be applied for to the zoning board regard the setbacks for parcel A, which is the 99 James P. Murphy facing parcel. Requires a rear setback variance, 50-foot required, 20 proposed. And that is the line you see on the site plan between the buildings that is proposed. Parcel B requires a front setback, 50-foot required, 5 proposed. And that would be fronting on 2 Energy Way. In addition to that, we have a need for parking relief, a deviation from the parking requirements. Parcel A, which is office use, so 1 for every 200 square feet of space. So the required is 117. The proposed is 109 spaces, which exists there now. Parcel B, which is warehouse predominantly, 1 space for every 500 square feet, required 115. And the office portion of the warehouse, which is 11,644 square feet, requires 58 for a total of 173 spaces, required proposed 97.
And so just probably doing these things in Zoom, but anyway, so under I have a question. I mean, it may be on the plan and I can't see it, okay? But each building is supposed to have its own sewer, water, natural gas, and that stuff. Is that clear?
Yes, in fact, pursuant to the recommendations of the planning office and the stipulations there,
Yeah.
we as the applicant have no objection to any of those.
Okay. So all 5 of these stipulations that have been suggested by the planning office
That's correct. I don't want to speak for Mr. Arpin is present, and he's familiar with the stipulations, have been reviewed,
Yep.
and I believe no objection.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there was one additional stipulation that came in after notice went out.
Okay.
And it's a request from more or less the TRC through the fire marshal's office, and that is to assign the number of 4 Energy Way to the warehouse building.
Okay.
I guess there's some history there, and for 9/11 purposes and West Warwick Public Safety, that building was formerly numbered 4 Energy Way, and they would like to readdress that building as 4 Energy Way. So I would add that.
So the 4, the one in the front will still be 4, Mark, and the
No,
one.
the one in the front is 99 James P. Murphy.
That's on James P. Murphy. So we're going to
Yeah,
change.
and the building on Lot B will be renumbered 4 Energy Way. And
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just a point on that. At the last town council meeting, the ordinance was revised because of some problems with street names, and street names and numbers are now within the jurisdiction of the TRC.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay, good. Thank you. Makes sense, actually, doesn't it? All right, this is, so this is a public hearing. I guess we have to ask if there's anyone in the public that would like to speak out either in favor of or opposed?
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, if I can ask a question?
You go right ahead. But I
Thank you.
thought you'd do it after the public comment, Phoenix, but go ahead. You can do it now. Go ahead.
All right. I am looking at the March 10th Technical Review Committee agenda with planning office comment and the proposed planning office stipulations, which there are 5. My only question is, that document dated March 10th, there is an email dated March 17th by Matthew Manny, addressed to the planner. The only concern for this office would be as to whether or not there are plans to separate the 2 structures that are presently connected via an enclosed walkway, if you will. The 2 structures share a fire alarm system and sprinkler system. So if the 2 structures are to be physically separated, then each building would need their own. That's a March 17th email, and that's obviously dated after the,
Yeah.
if I have my dates correct here, I'm
Yeah, and Felix, under the planning office recommendation, item number 4, is a stipulation that the hallway passageway connecting the 2 buildings shall be removed and the building shall meet existing fire codes having base.
okay, all right. So even though it's dated March 17th, we got it covered then.
I think we have
Okay.
it covered, yeah.
All
Mark,
right.
you in agreement?
I was going by the date of the document. Thank you.
Good. Okay, anyone in the public that wants to speak?
Nobody's got their hands up or anything, Joe, so I think we're pretty good.
Okay, other board members, any other questions? Yeah, I kind of have a general question, right? It's a setback, a change in setback. Does this have to go to zoning too, or is this how we have the authority to do this? The industrial park. Al, a question for you, I guess.
So they have to go to zoning. You
So
do
thi-
not have jurisdiction.
That's what I thought. So we are, so we will be making a recommendation to zoning. All right, so let's start by closing.
Your decision is subject to zoning approval.
Yeah, got it. All right, so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? No, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so
Aye.
public hearing is now closed. So this, entertain a motion that we approve this application and with the understanding that it's going to have to go to zoning for an additional approval on the process.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve it?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve with the stipulations noted in the meeting minutes.
Good, thank you. All right, second?
Second.
All right, any further conversation? Further discussion? All right, seeing none. All in favor of approving this, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, all right, so it's been passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
It's been passed.
It's been passed. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much for your time.
All right, item 3, it's a public meeting, request for extension, Med Recycler -RI Inc. Applicant Brookwood Investors LLC, location 1600 Division Road, Assessors Plat 30, Lot 3. It's a commercial industrial district, 34-acre lot. Number of lots is not applicable. It's engineers Millstone Engineering. This is simply a ministerial request for a 1-year extension of the master plan approval in accordance with the West Warwick subdivision. I understand there may be some applicants that want to be heard on this, but this is not a public hearing and I will not allow any public comments at this phase because this is we don't have a choice. And the state law basically requires that we grant this extension. It's from my understanding. Al, am I correct on that?
You are correct, just to
Yeah.
put it in the record,
Yeah.
so that there's no questions about it. Our ordinance, which follows the state guidelines, states that the approved master, and I'm quoting, the approved master plan
Yep.
shall be vested for a period of 2 years with a right
Yep.
to extend for 2 one-year extensions upon written request of the applicant,
Okay.
who must appear before the planning board for the annual review. But you have no choice. They have the right to 2 one-year extensions.
Okay, thank you. And then
Subsequent to that. show cause.
so this application, this is for the first of those 2 one-year
Yes,
extensions. My understanding is it, and
yes. Unlike in zoning where they have to show that they've done something in areas,
Yeah.
planning is different. That's an automatic right by statute.
Yeah. All right, I guess we take it, is there a motion to?
If I may, just for the record, so that you have a record of the applicant appearing at the hearing. My name is Nicholas Vaz. I'm an attorney here on behalf of Med Recycler. I appreciate you going through the rules and the statutes. And I'll let you vote because I understand that's what you're doing, but I just wanted to make myself known.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Or is there a motion that we grant this extension?
I'll make a motion to grant the request to extend.
Okay, and there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, we could vote. All those in favor of granting the extension?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Okay. There's,
Aye.
okay, so this is passed unanimously, it seems. And then, okay, next item 4.
You all,
Discussion. Yes?
thank you.
You're welcome, Attorney Voss. Thank you. All right. The item 4 for discussion, administrative office duties and responsibilities. And this is to discuss the duties and responsibilities of the administrative officer as presented in the West Warwick subdivision and land development regulations. And this is, in the past, we have had issues with old approved projects from a decade ago or more that came back in and wanted administrative approval to make changes on those documents. Those documents, again, Alan, you may be able to help me on this, but these were subject to an extension from the state of Rhode Island that basically gave them right, universal life. They can just live forever. These grants, these programs.
About that.
Yeah, and so, but people come in now and realize that what was approved 12 years ago is not really what they want to do anymore. So they come in with a revised plan, and we asked basically at a meeting. This goes back a few years ago. We said we didn't want to allow for any administrative approvals on those projects, but basically I think we said on all projects at that time. And now this is object, and I want to hear from planning board members, but I'm thinking that it's time for us to reconsider that and to go back to where some things, probably most applications, and certainly final approval after having come to a public hearing for preliminary approval, could in fact be done administratively. So any thoughts? Go ahead, Mark.
Mr. Chairman, so I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that practice. What I would like to say to the board is 2 things. One is that as controversial projects come before the planning board and may gain a preliminary approval, I would likely not include a stipulation that it would be approved administratively moving forward to final. Then the board would have the prerogative as to whether or not to either change that stipulation, or even in times where I would not recommend that, if the hearing was controversial and additional stipulations came up during the hearing, it could be the board's prerogative, and I might even move forward to make a suggestion to the board to add a stipulation that it not be approved administratively. So we would kind of have a double check with regard to when projects could and should not be granted final approval administratively. And on any of the older projects, I think most of them have now, I don't know, the ones I'm aware of have been flushed out and gone through the system. And I think you'll attest to this, Mr. Chairman, is most recently, I would say in the last little less than a year, I've been reaching out to you and inquiring, hey, here's the situation. This is the status. This is the project. You know, what would you like to see happen with that? Come back, move forward. And so I've been trying to coordinate and work better with the planning board through the chairman with regard to those administrative approvals.
Yeah, and actually, I agree, Mark, that when a preliminary approval is granted, we should include explicitly whether this that will have to come back to the planning board for final, or whether the final could be done administratively, and that should be part of our decisions going forward. That's my thought. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I might throw some comments in from the outside.
Yep.
I was legal counsel to planning in East Greenwich for 5 years. And in East Greenwich, not only did they have a planner, they had a full-time staff in the planning board. And pretty much it was just as Mark outlined in his comments earlier. Since I've been in West Warwick, Mark is either the 4th or 5th town planner that I've worked with or against. And I must say that none of them brought the expertise that Mark has brought to the town. And in each instance, while, how do I say this without getting in trouble? While some of them attempted to do that, they were not on top of things as much as Mark is, so that my coming in as an advisor to the planning board and to the town planner, I have, from my position, think that to give Mark that discretion, if you will, and based on his judgment, I think it'll be a much smoother operation and a better run town if the planning board sees fit to move that. And I say that, as I said, from having worked with, I don't know, 6 or 7 different planners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al. And I would concur. We have a planner now that's really on top of the laws and is supportive of everything that a planning office should do in our town. So I agree with that. Other members of the board, thoughts on this?
That seems to make sense. I would agree, what you and Al have said.
Yeah.
I agree with what the solicitor said. I don't think the intent of the board was ever to say or communicate no administrative approvals. I think there are some that I think the planner would want the board to look at, and I think there's a clear understanding. I think we probably communicated the intent wrong, and I'm glad it's cleared up.
Yeah, thank you, Felix, because I agree with you. We overreacted. Yeah, I think that's what happened. Any further comments, questions, concerns? If not, we haven't any all preliminary hearing decisions will include explicit recommendations as to whether the administratively or not.
That sounds reasonable. I would agree.
Okay, can you make a motion? Make that a motion, Joe?
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, there's there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. So all in favor of that, making that an ongoing policy issue for our board? All in favor?
Making that
Aye.
an ongoing policy issue for our board.
Okay,
All in favor? Aye.
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 we had an echo. The whole thing came back again. Okay,
Approved.
item,
It's approved twice.
there you go. Thank you, Al. Item 5, administrative subdivision approval for informational purposes. Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can explain each of these for us. And then if we have any questions, we can raise them.
So I hope, and I had a little difficulty this time around because of the volume of the data, but
Yep.
I hope that all of you have received
Yep.
the maps that are associated with these administrative approvals and administrative subdivision.
Yep.
The first one is finally, in working through the fire department, we were able to finalize the Orchard overall plan. That is a project that had come back to the planning board
Yep.
For a change to the conditions, and that being a second means of egress out of the property. And because the solar farm was built on an adjoining property. So that would be the largest map that you have received. And it's approving phase 2 of that development with a cul-de-sac
Yep.
and fire department required turnarounds and numbering. I don't know if there's any questions on that, but that final plan has now been recorded in the land evidence records and is the plan of record.
Yeah, right. And that, okay, because that's what we had approved, right? We had already seen.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, the issue moving forward that took so long was naming of the streets. I don't want to get into the details of that, but Al touched on it a little bit
Yep.
At the beginning of the hearing, and that there's an ordinance that has been revised that assigns the naming of the streets to the responsibility of the TRC.
Okay.
So in this particular instance, fire, it's a public safety issue. So fire worked with the department and members of the TRC via email to name the streets. It took quite some time because, believe it or not, the applicant, virtually every street name he was choosing was unacceptable. So we went through several iterations of street names, but that's finally been recorded.
Okay, so that's recorded.
The other 3 are regular administrative subdivisions where lines have just been moved one way or the other
Yep.
on the maps. I don't know if the board has any questions on those, but it's just no new lots created, just moving of lines. These are pure administrative subdivisions
Yep.
that under state statute do not come to the planning board and simply get submitted for review and recording. And the planner reviews these to make sure that they comply with the zoning requirements. And then they are recorded in the land evidence records. If they do not comply, then they are brought forward to the planning board for their review and approval.
Yeah, so they're each just, like one of them, I noticed, just straightening out the boundary line between different parcels.
Yes, it's just a moving of a lot line, no new lots created.
And no infringements on setbacks.
Correct.
That created.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Joe,
Go
Joe,
ahead.
if I might, just since it's come up tonight, to give the planning board a little bit of background on this street naming situation. It came about when I was asked to prepare an ordinance to put a stop sign on a street. So the Major Archambault gave me the name of the street. And when I looked it up on GIS, it had a different name. So I called Major Archambault, and Major Archambault said, well, I don't know what the GIS says, but that's what the name I gave you is what the street sign says. So then I called Mark and I asked Mark to look at the plan, and the plan had a third name on the street. So at that point in time, we got a little concerned, and it turned out that some time ago, there was a question of a street name where the fire department had named the street. The developer changed the name of the street. It didn't get into litigation, but they were able to prove that the town had no ordinance allowing the name of the street, which created a problem because on one particular call, the fire department didn't know where it was going on the
Yeah.
street. So,
Yeah.
I got together, I spoke with Chief Arone, Chief Knott, the members of the fire department. As a matter of fact, I covered all bases. Mark, Bob Asselone, tax assessor, everybody. And it was pretty unanimous that we had to have something where, and I don't mean this way it's going to sound, but we took the power of a developer to name a street into where it would be safe for the town, especially for emergency purposes and for Mark and his planning and everything else. And the conclusion was that probably the best place to put it would be in the TRC because they have, all of the departments available. And I went to the council agreed, and that ordinance was passed a couple of weeks ago. So
Great.
it's now in effect.
Good, good. Thank you. And that would be serious if you got a couple of streets named the same in different places or the street names have been changed. And, how does the fire department or the police department?
Well,
know?
the one that came about was the fire department map
Yeah,
had a name different than a street sign.
yeah. So, right, can't even find it. Yeah. Okay, good. Actually, that's a good change. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mark. Item 6, public comment. Is there anyone out there that wants to make a public comment?
No hands going up, Joe. I think we're safe.
Okay, that being the case, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adjourn. Without further discussion, let's just vote that we should adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Without further discussion, we should vote that we should adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.